First of all, hi to everyone. Myself Prashant. So we are in the second chapter, making of the Indian Constitution of Indian Polity, and this is first part of this chapter. So let's start. So we should first discuss the background of the Constituent Assembly. Uh, in year 1935, Indian National Congress for the first time demanded for Constituent Assembly to frame the Constitution, right? So you need to know the year, who demanded for it, and who was the first to demand. So it was Indian National Congress, right? Now, talking about the composition of Constituent Assembly. So before talking about the composition, we should know that how did this Constituent Assembly came into being. So it came through a cabinet mission plan, right? So in November 1946, under cabinet mission plan, this Constituent Assembly came into being. Now, this cabinet mission plan came in year 1946, right? And it was a three member mission, right? And who were the three member? So the three member were uh, Pethick Lawrence, Pethick Lawrence, then Stafford Cripps, right? And the third person was A.V. Alexander, right? So we need to know, and also we need to know that cabinet mission plan proposed for undivided, undivided India. This is very important point, right? So, you need to know, and Mountbatten plan, Mountbatten plan proposed for divided India, divided India, divided India, and through this Mountbatten plan only, 1947 Act came into being, Indian Independence Act came into being. But here we are discussing Constituent Assembly, so we need to know the Cabinet Mission Plan and its propositions, right? So it proposed for undivided India. So this is very important, right? And this cabinet mission plan was unsuccessful. It was not successful. It was unsuccessful, right? Questions can be asked like, was it successful or not? So it was unsuccessful, and it was unsuccessful for obvious reason. There was a difference between Indian National Congress and Muslim League, right? So this is very important. Now, let's discuss the second point. Another point here we are missing is that uh, the strength, the strength of Constituent Assembly was total strength was 389. So there were 389 members in it, right? So let's move to the next slide. So the next slide says that each province and princely estates sits in proportion to population. So uh, the seats were in proportion to population. This is what it means. The third point, the third point says that seats were divided among Muslims, Sikhs, and general. So obviously, this is communal electorate, right? Communal electorate, and yeah. Fourth point says that a representative of each community by member of that community in provincial legislative assembly. So uh, representative of each member by member of that community. So again, it's example of communal electorate, right? So through which act, for the first time, when did uh, this communal electorate came for the first time. So it was a question for you guys. Just check it out that through which act for the first time this communal electorate came into being, through which act in India, right? And voting through proportional representation by means of single transferable vote. So there was this proportional representation by means of single transferable vote. So I'll discuss what does this single transferable vote means, right? So single transferable vote, right? So it means that it's a system in which there is multi-member, there is multi multi-member proportional proportional representation, right? Multi-member proportional representation, and in this method, voter ranks candidate, voter ranks candidate according to his preference. Candidates ranks candidate according to his or her preference, right? His or her preference, and obviously the person who gets the maximum number of preference gets nominated or elected to certain post, right? So this is what it means. And in India, which constitutional post or through which important post is filled through proportional representation by means of single transferable vote? So that position is President of India. President of India, right? Not Prime Minister. President of India is elected through, is indirectly elected, and that process is known as proportional representation by means of proportional representation by means of single transferable vote, single transferable vote, right? So this is very important. It's President of India. President of India is not directly elected, and this process is an indirect method to elect, indirect method, right? Indirect method. So President of India is elected through indirect method, and what is that method? It is proportional representation by means of single transferable vote, while Prime Minister of India gets elected through direct method, right? So this was important to know. And as I have discussed the single transferable vote, so it is clear that that this process, this point, this whole point clearly indicates that Constituent Assembly was partly elected and partly nominated body. Partly elected and partly nominated body. Partly nominated body. Right? You need to know this as well. Questions have been asked earlier. Now, a fifth point says that representatives of princely estates were to be nominated by the heads of princely estates. So, no, doesn't need any explanation. Now, we also need to know that Constituent Assembly included all important personalities of that time except Gandhiji and Jinnah, right? So, as we know, in India, Gandhiji was at the center of India independence, and in Pakistan, Jinnah is considered as the center of Pakistan's independence, right? So, so these two portions are very important. So we need to know that whether they were part of the Constituent Assembly, which was formed in 1946, or were were or they were not part of it, right? So they were not part of the Constituent Assembly. Questions in UPSC, BPSC, and UPPSC have been asked by twisting the statement. So a statement has have been twisted like this, like Gandhiji and Jinnah were part of Constituent Assembly formed in 1946. So this is a wrong statement. They were not part of the Constituent Assembly, which was formed in 1946. So this is very important since they were the center, right? They were the center of protest, agitation, uh, movement. So you need to know everything revolved around Gandhiji. So you need to know, and if you are considering about Muslim League, so whatever kind of activity happened in Muslim League, so that revolved around Jinnah. So you need to know that whether they were finally part of Constituent Assembly or not. So they were not part of the Constituent Assembly, which was formed in 1946. I'm repeating again and again because it is worth repeating, right? They are very important from exam point of view. Now, let's move to the next point. So next point says that Constituent Assembly was not directly elected, right? Was not directly through adult franchise, but comprised representative of all sections of Indian society. So definitely it was not a directly elected body through adult franchisee, but it comprised representative of all sections of Indian society, right? Indian society, yeah. So I guess this is it. And in the next video, we will discuss all other important points like here we got to know that the primary and you also need to know here that the fundamental or the primary function of Constituent Assembly was to adopt the Constitution of India, right? So adopt Constitution of India, primary or fundamental role was to adopt consti, adopt constitution, right? So fundamental role was to adopt constitution. So you need to know, and we will discuss other points like it also adopted a national flag, it also adopted national song, it also adopted uh, various other things, which is very important. So we'll discuss that in the part two of this chapter, making of Indian Constitution. So thank you. Thank you for your time. I hope you really enjoyed and learned something from this video. So we'll be coming next with the part two of this chapter with, with the part two of this chapter, making of the Indian Constitution, part two, right? Sure. Thank you. Thank you again. Thank you so much.